So I see Alok Agarwal, both A's. So no better person to start than somebody with two A's for initials. So Alok, would you like to introduce yourself?
So this is we are the ISTD management team, IT team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. So Arun and Alok, okay. So anybody would like to go first?
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon,
I'm
Arvind.
Arvind. I am from a software services background, around 16 years of experience, and I have been into consulting for various type of projects. Uh, uh, I have been working with the Dell services earlier, and also I have worked in India and abroad. Uh, at the moment, my idea was to understand in deep the training and development initiatives that is being carried here, and see how we can automate. Also, how this training and development affects HR, and how to create interventions for these various domains using automation and AI, using the IT and software development services background experience. That's the primary motive. In talent management, basically I wanted to understand how the succession planning, talent retention, talent recruitment, and everything related to talent management process works within any organization, right from the beginner or to a very enhanced and matured organization.
Okay, great, Arvind. Good to hear about your varied experience, and you are a consultant, so I'll also look forward to learning from you. Great.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Anybody else would like to introduce themselves?
Hi, sir. Very good afternoon. My name is Urvashi. I work with an organization called TVS Supply Chain Solutions Limited. So talent management is not new to me, but I would want to understand in depth about it. So that's my intention for attending this class.
Okay, great, Urvashi. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir.
Would anybody else like to introduce themselves? See.
Yeah, Mr. Das, this is Abhijit Roy from Kolkata.
Hi, Abhijit.
Yeah, greetings to you and greetings to all the other participants.
Thank you.
And I'm in the industry for the last 20 years, currently in learning and development. And the purpose of joining ISTD is to know and get familiar with the holistic training industry. Because currently what I'm doing, I'm into sales training, but training has got a lot of other dimensions as well. So
right.
to know all those nuances, I'm here and looking forward to learn a lot from your class.
Okay, great, Abhijit. And now that I get to know that you're a sales trainer, so I will also try and learn something from you, because sales training is where the money lies. So I will learn from you and hopefully become very effective in sales training as well.
I'm feeling a little embarrassed. Anyways,
it's a mutual give and take. All of us have a lot of experience, and together cumulatively probably we have more than 100 years of experience. So it would always be good to learn from each other.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this ISTD platform.
Right, absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Das. Suketu Rupani here.
Hi, Suketu.
Hi, and hello to everybody. I have 13 plus years of experience, and currently I'm working with a company called SL Propack Limited. I am the head organizational effectiveness. So predominantly, I've kind of my profile has come from a business side, and I look into organizational development. But with that being said, I would like to further link it up with the talent part of it as well. So that's what I'm interested in, knowing the nuances of talent retention, talent development, ACDCs, and similar things. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Suketu. Anybody else? So it's good to see that there are people from places other than Delhi. Last batch was, I think, restricted to Delhi, but I see that uh, we have participation from outside Delhi as well. So great. Okay, so I think rest of our participants are a bit shy for some reason. So good. We will, continue to interact and get to know more about you. Meanwhile, we will get started with the session. So we have, about more than 10 people. So that's pretty good. So before we start, any thoughts on, what do we understand by talent management?
Can I break the ice?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. So might be a brief idea about every organization has got its own pool of internal employees, and who are the key stakeholders so far as the top line and bottom line are concerned of that organization. So how to engage all these employees of the organization so that they could really improve their productivity, overall performance, and could really contribute towards the company's vision, mission, and achievement. In that way, how do we engage them? Maybe something like that. Since I have never worked into HR, so beyond this, I would like to know more.
Okay, thanks, Abhijit. So don't worry if you've not worked in HR. It's okay. You are in sales training, so you are the engine of what every organization looks for, which is the revenue. So yes, you are quite right. So talent management is a gamut of all the activities that we do to attract good talent, to retain good talent, and to engage the good talent so that they are able to give us the optimal productivity that any good organization looks for. So what we will focus on today is basically an overview of what talent management is, and currently how are we faring? How is talent management faring? In various organizations, how important or unimportant it is in organizations. Okay, so I will share my a few slides, and we will discuss as we go through the slides. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yeah, it is very much.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so when we talk of integrated talent management, what we are talking about are a few things. So first is, do we have a talent strategy in place in the first place? Many organizations, unfortunately, don't really have a talent strategy. So it's important to have some sort of a talent strategy in place in terms of what do I think about the talent that I have. Is it the right talent to have? Should I acquire talent from outside? Should I develop talent inside? So these are some basic questions that every organization needs to engage with. Then once you have dealt with your strategizing, you need to look at how to source the relevant talent. What kind of screens do you have? What kind of filters do you have? Whereby you are able to use those filters to screen the right talent. I don't think I need to share in terms of what happens if you get the wrong talent in place. Okay, so it's very important to source the right talent. Then once you have the right talent, it is not enough, okay, that I have recruited somebody from a good institution, somebody with good experience, but it is also important that how do you optimize their performance. So performance management becomes very important. Then learning and development also comes very well within talent management. And learning and development is very critical because You may have a lot of good talent in the organization, but if you don't nurture the talent, then that talent, even if it is good, may not be very effective in the longer term. So therefore, how do you nurture the talent? How do you bring it up? That is very important. Then succession planning. So there are many positions which are critical in the organization, and those critical positions need to be planned for. So do I have a pipeline for the talent, behind those critical positions? Suppose somebody leaves the organization, do I quickly fill that position? So that is very important, that I should be able to fill it, because otherwise, for critical positions, if you don't have somebody over there, you may impact the organization very negatively. So therefore, succession planning ensures that you have a talent pipeline in place for all your critical positions, and you are able to backfill those positions very quickly. Leadership development, we are increasingly seeing that organizations which have a strategy on how to develop their leaders, it could be internally, it could be getting good leaders from outside, but leadership talent is very important. And while most of the organization, of course, has to be driven by good processes, good procedures, but leadership is what differentiates a good organization from maybe a not so good organization. So how do you nurture this capability? That is very important. Last but not the least, compensation. So we are here for the money, obviously. So money is very critical, and compensation kind of could be not just the CTC that we get, but also the benefits that you get, the overall package in terms of reputation enhancement, in terms of growth opportunities, in terms of the increments, etc. So all of that really adds up to the compensation and how satisfied you feel as an employee. Okay, so here is a quotation: given the journey that talent management is on, we do seem to need new answers to new problems rather than another retrofit of past practices. So this gentleman, he has written this book called The Future Ready Organization: How Dynamic Capability Management is Reshaping the Modern Workplace. And what he says is that talent management itself is very dynamic, and we have to rethink, we have to relook at the way we do things with new answers to new problems which are coming up every other day. And we cannot just retrofit old practices. So we have to think innovatively, we have to think different. And so that is the solution. So that's a short overview. Now, we will look at some of more aspects of talent management. Before that, I will quickly introduce myself. My name is Dipankar Das. I have been in the industry for about 25 years. Out of that, 20 years in HR, in largely in learning and development, talent acquisition, and a little bit in operations, HR operations. So that's about me. I think if I talk about the organizations that I've worked for, about 6 years in G, about 8 years in IBM, and I've also worked for the Tatas and the Hero Group. So that's a little bit about myself, and I have executive MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur, and I'm certified on a few programs like NLP, whole brain thinking, MBTI, DISC, International Coaching Federation, etc. So that's about me. So let's get started on this exciting journey about talent management. So as I was saying that, so talent management includes workforce planning, talent acquisition, capability development and performance, and leadership and high potential development. So it's really the full scope of HR processes to attract, onboard, develop, motivate, and retain high performing employees. And talent management is aimed at improving business performance through practices that make employees more productive. So that's the range. Now, is anybody familiar with the balance scorecard? Would anybody like to share their thoughts on what is the balance scorecard? And then I will explain why I have brought it over here, why I have added one slide on the BSc. Would anybody like to share?
Yeah, Dipankar. Suketu here.
Yes, okay, so please go ahead.
Okay. So balance scorecard, according to me, basically is a strategy tool where the organization tries to cascade its objectives from top to bottom in a way that there is a balance in the goals which the employees are taking. So if the organization wants, say, probably wants the employees to focus predominantly in financial, so the goals which the employees are taking need to have certain maximum weightage on the financial. Accordingly, the growth cannot be just the financial. So it is customer oriented, process oriented, and also some level of organizational development. So the balance scorecard is basically a tool which provides an easy instrument to understand the balance of the focus of these of the employees towards achieving the goals.
Okay, thanks, Suketu. Good. I think I saw Obijit also raising his hand. Obijit, you're trying to say something? Okay, if not, fine. So, good, Suketu. I think you have given a good insight. So, why I have added this over here is, this balance scorecard was basically it's a tool that Norton and Kaplan had developed, and they were consultants, and the perspective that they wanted to bring about is that before the 1990s, and actually even now, very often what happens is that companies just evaluate themselves on the basis of their financial performance. So they just look at their balance, they look at their scorecard, they look at their balance sheet, and they say that if they are profitable, then they are a good company. If they're not profitable, then they are not a good company. And that is a simple way of looking at any organization. Now, what Norton Kaplan tried to say through the balance scorecard is that while a company may be, having a positive profit after tax, they may have a positive EBITDA, but it is not necessary that a company which is doing financially, which is doing well financially, is a very healthy company and is going to keep doing well. How do you predict the performance of a company in the near future, maybe 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line? How do you predict that? So they said that it's not enough to look at the financial, the revenue numbers and the margins, but you need to understand any particular company from various other dimensions, from various other angles. So therefore, they said that we have to look at finance is good. It's one of the very important matrices, but there are other matrices which are equally important and tell us how healthy a organization is. So they said that, um, you know, what about the customers? What do customers think about a particular company? Do they think well? Are they willing to stay with that company, or given half an opportunity, they will quickly move to some other company? Is there any customer loyalty for that company or not? That is important because that gives you an insight into the possible revenue growth and revenue pipeline in the near future. Then the customers may like you, but internally, how healthy are your processes? Are you a company which is based on a few personalities, or are you a company which is based on healthy procedures and processes? So that is very important, and that needs to be gauged before we say that this company is a good company. And the fourth aspect is the company learning? So, and is it using the learning, the latent knowledge available in the organization to develop itself further? So, net, what these two writers suggested is that it's not just enough to look at the balance sheet. You have to look at a company holistically. And one critical dimension of any company are the people in the company, what kind of talent this company has. So that is very, very critical. So therefore, I think their most important contribution is that they were able to convince a large number of people to understand a company from not just the financial perspective, but from the robustness of their processes, from the perception of their customers, and their ability to learn from themselves and from their own internal workings. So that is where the criticality of talent management comes in, that if you do not learn, if you do not manage your talent well, then you may be doing very well in terms of revenue, but you are unlikely to continue to do so. So that is the point that they made very convincingly. And now the BSc, or the Balanced Scorecard, is used quite extensively to study organizations. And organizations which are strong on talent management are organizations which are generally rewarded, recognized, and people have more faith in. So that's where the BSc really comes in over here. So moving on, let's see a short video on talent management, and what does this video have to say. In case you are not able to hear, just let me know. I'm playing this video.
The definition of talent management can often be perceived as elusive. Human resource professionals themselves commonly have different definitions of talent management. That said, talent management is a set of integrated organizational human resource processes designed to attract, develop, engage, and retain productive, engaged employees. The goal of talent management is to create a high-performance, sustainable organization that meets its strategic and operational goals and objectives. While professional perspectives on talent management vary dramatically, the fact is human resource professionals do talent management on a daily basis. Let's take a look at a model that defines talent management in clear terms. This talent management model illustrates key processes to ensure organizations attract, retain, and engage talented staff. Centered on learning, the processes of recruiting, interviewing, onboarding, and selecting are all major components of talent management. The talent management model is built on the premise that we must attract, retain, and engage employees at all times through all decisions. Let's define each of these three fundamental elements of talent management. Attract. Identifying and persuading the right people at the right time for the right reasons. Engage. The extent to which employees are committed to their organization's goals and values, motivated to contribute to organizational success, and the ability at the same time to enhance their own sense of well-being. Retain. A systematic effort focused not only on retaining an organization's talented performers, but also to create and foster a welcoming work environment and high retention culture. The end result is an organization that operates more effectively and efficiently, while being a great place to work. Talent management is centered on employee learning, best accomplished through a learning organization. A learning organization is an organization that has an enhanced capacity to learn, adapt, and change. Many companies, recognizing the strategic importance of learning, have strived to become learning organizations. Training processes are carefully scrutinized and aligned with organizational goals. In a learning organization, training is seen as part of a system designed to create human capital. Recruiting is the process of finding and hiring the best qualified candidate from within or outside the organization for a job opening in a timely and cost-effective manner. The recruitment process includes analyzing the requirements of a job and attracting employees to fill that job. Interviewing, or a job interview, is a type of employment test that involves a conversation between a job applicant and a representative of the organization. Interviews are one of the most popularly used devices for selection. Normally done in face-to-face meetings, an interview involves asking a job applicant questions to determine whether the applicant is suitable for the position. Handled properly, the interview process is undertaken with deliberation and planning to accomplish the task of selecting the best person for the job. Selecting, or selection, is the process of evaluating candidates for a specific job and selecting an individual for employment based on certain criteria. Employee selection can range from a very simple process to a very complicated process depending on the organization hiring and the position. Certain employment laws, such as anti-discrimination regulations, must be obeyed during the selection process. And the final element of the talent management model, onboarding. The onboarding process acclimates new hires and ensures that they quickly feel welcomed and valued by the organization. This process enables new employees to become productive members of the organization who understand expectations and their job roles. Onboarding goes beyond traditional orientation programs, which focus mainly on managing policies, forms, and procedures.
Okay, so any key takeaways from the video that we just saw? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible. So it defined everything in a nutshell, like, what talent management is, right from attracting, retaining, and engaging. So all the three aspects were covered in talent management.
Absolutely. Thanks, Urvashi. So, yes, that's what the video was all about. That basically, in a nutshell, it talked about very precisely, it talked about the various components of talent management. And if you notice, though it is a short video, but for example, it differentiates between induction and onboarding. So induction can be just filling up a few forms, being introduced to the rules of the company, all the details that you need to follow day in, day out. But onboarding can be a different exercise altogether, where the person is comfortably integrated into the culture of the organization. There are many stakeholders who ensure that the person is comfortable and gradually becomes productive for the organization. So these are subtle differences in terms of what happens very often and what actually should happen basis the dimensions of talent management. So now let's look at what really happens. So this is information gleaned from various reports, particularly from UH study, in terms of how talent management is faring in various organizations. And this data is largely for the global US and European market. And my sense is that whatever percentages we talk about here, in India, it is probably on the lower side as compared to the numbers that we have over here. So, but anyway, let's look at some of the trends that are there. So, if you were to say talent strategy, now I'm not sure. I think Suketu is looking after organizational capability, and many of you are probably involved with talent developing strategy from HR perspective. But overall, talent strategy, senior leaders value talent, but there is very limited alignment between business strategy and talent strategy. So business strategy could be something that people look at and develop with a lot of attention, with a lot of focus. But the talent strategy that needs to go with the business strategy, that does not get the sort of attention which typically the revenue projections and the business pipeline gets. But I think increasingly more and more people are realizing that any organization is only as good as the people in the organization. So you have books by Varun Nair and other people. I think one written by a Wipro executive, and even I think Azim Premji has said this somewhere, that people are more important than customers. So in a way, it makes a lot of business sense why people are more important, because if people are happy, then they have the capacity to keep the customer happy. But if people are dissatisfied, you cannot expect great service coming from dissatisfied people to satisfy dissatisfied customers. So therefore, people strategy is very important, but we do not see that alignment between talent strategy and business strategy. So the next point is consistent execution and integration of talent practices continues to be short. So do we have, I many of you are working in various organizations. I'm not sure that if too many of you have some talent strategy that is going on, or talent initiative that is being taken, that is going on currently. Typically, we just hire people, we train them, we retain them, and if people leave, we simply replace them. But how do you strategize? How do you ensure that uh, have the best talent, and then you leverage the talent to deliver business results? Maybe not too many companies are doing it. Then you have organizations building stronger employment brands as part of the talent strategy. Again, you don't see too much of that, but some companies, for example, Google focuses a lot on employee development, and also how employees, what kind of services they get, what kind of benefits they have, what kind of comforts that are made available to them. So all of that is part of their employment brand, and they want to attract the absolutely best talent to their organization. So here are some numbers. So, if you look at the degree of alignment and integration of workforce strategy with business strategy, so 4% in developed markets like US say that they have zero alignment. 38% say they have some sort of alignment. 40% have to a considerable degree, and only 17% consistently across the organization have alignment between their workforce strategy and the business strategy. So 17% is not a good percentage, and my sense is that in India it's even less. Uh, Partly because while talent is available in India, but good talent may not be available in India also. It's difficult to find good talent everywhere. So that is the current level of alignment between talent strategy and business strategy. So if you have any thoughts, any observations, any points that you would like to share, please feel free. uh, you know uh, this is our common forum. I am just a facilitator. I am not a teacher or a trainer.
Mr. Das, Suketu here.
Yeah, so
Just one line which comes to my mind on the first point. So my ex-MD in the organization had kind of stated this in public forum, that revenue grows at an exponential rate compared to talent. So revenue grows very fast at a very high rate, but talent is where we need to focus, where talent is difficult to catch up talent with revenue. So I just thought I'll share that, most of the Indian companies where revenue growth has been great, your PNL has been looking very healthy, but then talent because of the gestation period, because of the nature, because we are dealing with people, it takes a lot of time. So that is a good point the MD made. I thought I'll share in the forum. Thank you.
Yes, okay, so that's a very good point. And, that reminds me of a statement that Stephen Covey had made. He had said that with people, slow is fast and fast is slow. So, when it comes to getting things done, when it comes to, let's say, fixing a machine, or improving revenue, financially, you can do that fast. Like your MD said, that it can be exponential. But with people, if you try to do things fast, you end up actually being slow, because people have take a certain gestation period. People take some time to develop, and uh, you have to adhere to that timeline. You cannot push people to learn very fast, and at the same time, you have to constantly nurture. So that is a slow process, or maybe relatively slow process. But your MD is absolutely right that one has to be patient with talent strategy. So good, thanks for sharing that insight. So moving on to workforce planning and talent acquisition. So some of the observations are that workforce planning in most companies is short-term focused, although some companies are becoming more strategic. So what is the number of headcount I need in this year? How many people do I need in the following year? Uh, I may have an insight into the numbers that I need for this year, but I may not really have an idea about next year. So, I was working in an organization where it was a large organization, and it was in the engineering space, engineering and civil engineering and design space. So, it would, every year HR had to plan the what was the projected headcount, and we would simply look at about you had about annually 10% attrition. So, and also there would be some growth in terms of business opportunities. So it would not be done very scientifically, but approximately 20% growth on existing headcount. So if the existing headcount is 5,000, we say that we will have another 1,000 people joining in the coming year. So it was really guesswork that would be there, because it is difficult to predict the business pipeline, and it is also difficult to predict what kind of attrition will take place. So another point is that talent acquisition fundamentals are in place, but there is plenty of room for improvement. Yes, that is absolutely true. Different companies in different industries acquire talent in different ways. For example, in the IT and IT enabled industry, uh, they are hiring by the thousands every month. 5,000, 10,000 people are joining the workforce every month. If you look at Infosys, Cognizant, Wipro, Capgemini. Capgemini has said that this year they will be hiring 70,000 people. So the numbers are there, and also they have a well-oiled hiring engine. So they have shop fronts, they have campus recruitment, they have uh, a talent management team which is kind of uh, hiring from other companies. So you have all of this in place, but how aligned is this talent that is being hired? Do we have the specifications in place? So that is something that probably needs to be optimized better. Next is, despite challenges, most companies report being able to attract the talent they need. So yes, in terms of filling the headcount requisition, most companies are able to get the numbers. And but the point is, two things. One is, have they got the right people? And secondly, if they have, how long will they be able to retain them? So both those questions are very critical and come in the scope of talent management. So here are some numbers. How good are organizations in terms of forecasting the supply and demand for skills? So if you look at the percentages, top executive talent, business unit leaders, so companies which have a more than 5 years window are only 7%. Companies with 3 to 5 years is 26%. Companies with about 1 to 2 years horizon, you have 27%. Then less than 1 year is 11%, and 19% of the companies surveyed, they have no forecast at all. So they have absolutely no clue. if somebody leaves the organization, some of the business heads leave the organization, then how will they fill the position? So that is not a good picture for the top executive talent. Then for senior management, you have only 5% having a forecast in terms of uh, hiring and backfilling senior level positions. 21% have a 3 to 5 years window. Uh, 1 to 2 years is 34%. 14% is less than a year, and 18% have zero forecast. So if you were to look at just the top executive talent and the senior management, what comes to your mind when you see these numbers that 18% have absolutely no idea of projection for senior management, 19% has no clue about hiring top executive talent. So what comes to your mind when you see these numbers? Anyone? I know this is a post lunch session, so after lunch it's very difficult to sit and listen to someone. So but anybody would like to share what is the perception that comes to your mind when we see these kind of numbers?
So through the statistics, one thing that I can see, this is Arvind here. I
Yeah,
can see is like frontline management is completely disregarded in case of the long-term perspective. Like only 1% for more than 5 years of projection, uh, they are completely undervalued. Whereas I guess uh, uh, if we go and see top executive management, people are focusing more on the top executives, which are quite less in numbers. Uh, Even in the critical non-management roles, it is only 2%. Uh, so the short term needs, I guess, what I assume is as we are becoming more agile, uh, we try to see that if I am actually going to recruit and hire more individual, are they going to be obsolete over a period of time? So I don't know if it is right because I am not a person from HR, but will it be wrong to say that when people are feared of hiring too many individuals, and they they may tend to think that uh, 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 the talent uh, management for those individuals uh, in the short span of time will be more effective, and in case if they actually go and do it for the longer term, it may not be that effective, and the amount of effort that is invested and the ROI of that effort may not actually be accrued, and this could be a reason why people are in HR do not focus much upon longer term period as far as talent management is concerned. I mean, I would actually ask for suggestions from people.
Yeah, sure. So would anybody like to comment on Arvind's observation? So Arvind, your team members are very quiet.
Sir, actually, it is a matrix of a lot of statistics here. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 20 data points here. So people have to go through all the data points to try to understand, how things are going and how it is being affected.
Right. Okay, but yes, I think fairly relevant observations. You're right that the organization doesn't think too much about frontline management, and therefore you have only 1% of all the people surveyed who agree, to having a 5-year window, a 5-year perspective or a plan in terms of their hiring strategy. While 10% have about 3 to 5 years, and the biggest chunk, which is 36%, have 1 to 2 years. Similarly, for less than 1 year, it's 21%, and 24% have absolutely no strategy in terms of frontline management. So that is actually, in a way, it is also pretty risky for an organization, to not have a talent strategy for this critical frontline management, because this is the uh, strata of business which interacts with customers, which is the key pillar of the organization. And not to have a pipeline is actually a risk. Then you have critical non-management. So you have roles like product development, scientist, IT. So here again, only 30% has a 1 to 2 year window. Less than 1 year is 25, and 29%. So while this is, I can understand this is critical non-management, but if you look at some of the portfolios, product management, scientists, IT, they are not unimportant. They may be non-critical. They may be critical non-management. They may be non-management, but they are very important roles. They are very critical roles. And not to have a forecast for them for 29% of the organizations is very risky, because your critical positions may get emptied out, and you may not have talent to backfill these positions quickly. So coming back to Arvind's point, that whether uh, organizations, they do not want to have a bigger window, because talent, can become outdated, and talent can, may actually, once it is there in an organization for a longer span of time, it can actually become less efficient. So yes, that is possible, but how do you ensure that it doesn't happen is also a responsibility of talent management. So therefore, uh, to have talent and not to nurture it, that is also a big risk. So the story goes that Henry Ford was asked that, so he was the founder of Ford company, and he was asked that you are spending a lot on training, but is this really useful? Because you're spending so much. And he used to spend a lot of money on developing his people. But people were skeptical that these people learn in Ford company and then they go away and join the competitor. So therefore, Henry Ford is actually losing money. So Henry Ford replied that, yes, I understand that I'm spending a lot on their training, and many of them leave me and join my competitor. But imagine if they were to stay with me without any training, without any learning, and they continue to, uh, continue in my organization without the right knowledge and the right talent, talent development, then what will happen to my organization? So therefore, even if people feel that there is a risk of people leaving the organization, one should still have the forecast, a longer term forecast. So one should still have very strong talent management strategies, so that you are able to develop the people, because it's far better to have good, better, well developed people who may leave your organization. A percentage of your people may leave the organization, but at least overall, the workforce is talented and capable, as compared to a large number of people who don't leave your organization but are not trained properly, who are poorly trained and not effective. So you can see the equation. One side you have talented people, some of whom may leave the organization. On the other side, you have people who are staying in the organization but do not have much talent. So any organization would like to choose the first option rather than have a team of extremely mediocre people who have not developed but who are continuing to stay with the organization. Would you agree with that choice, or would you have a different choice?
Sir, can you please repeat? I just missed because of my network problem.
Okay, I was saying that you have a choice between having people in your company who are very skilled and talented, but some of them may also leave the organization, as compared to people in the organization who have not been trained properly, who do not have too much of talent, but continue to be in the organization.
Sir,
Which option would you choose?
actually both the options are very important. Like when we talk about the integrity of an employee, or the trust that the employee will be there in the organization during the time which is required, is very important. At the same time, talent is also very important. Having said that, lot of times it depends upon the need. If the need is urgent, and if I am actually going for the talent management at that point of time, I would be looking for people who are instantly effective. So at that time, I may value people who are very talented. And maybe it can be for a project to project basis. But for a longer term, talent can be nurtured also. So I would actually value people who will, be good for the company for a long term, and not only value the talent part of the person.
Okay. Okay, fine. So, that is an option that we can always exercise. But my submission would be that uh, the numbers that we see over here are not very healthy numbers, and we should plan better for our workforce and talent management strategies. So, the forecasting between the demand and supply for skills, if not 5, at least should be 3 years in advance, so that you have a well-oiled machinery to attract and retain talent. Okay, so any questions on these statistics that we have over here?
Sir, can I ask from what is the source of these statistics
Yeah,
data?
so this is taken from a Hewitt report. I will
Okay.
share the Hewitt report. So this is workforce management survey, a very detailed survey. I'm just showing 1 or 2 numbers, but it's
Right,
actually a very detailed report.
right. Sir, I just want to share one thing, because we are talking about talent management. Uh,
Right.
I just came across a pharma company where they were trying to plan and strategize succession planning for all their high potentials. And I saw that the practice which was followed by the chief of human resource and other senior members was like the longer term that they considered for the longer term window for the succession planning was like 2 to 3 years, and the midterm was like 1 to 2 years, and below 1 year was like short span. uh, so this actually talks about the data points which you actually have highlighted through the statistics, that people try to think about talent in a very short span of time. Whenever even talking about the succession planning also, for even the high potentials in the company which drives the organization forward and runs the business, uh, they do not focus on a larger span of time, because they think that uh, over a period of time, the nature of work or the nature of competencies which are required for the same type of work may completely differ, and hence they only plan for like mostly below 2 years, and sometimes 2 to 3 years, and 3 years, I mean, and 3+ years is like rare.
Right. I mean, absolutely. Um, so great. Actually, there are very few companies which plan for 3 years or 5 years. As I mentioned, I was in GE, and they have one planning session basically covers 1 year, 3 year, and 5 years. So they actually plan for 5 years, and then the same part also focuses on what will things be like in 3 years, and then also the immediate, which is 1 year. But yes, there are few companies which do this kind of a planning. Okay, so moving on, we look at capability building and performance. So, so some observations are that lack of accountability and capability for workforce development. This is quite common, that many organizations do not really have clear accountability in terms of how do you develop the workforce. Uh, then select organizations directly tackle capability development or challenges. They, have their own departments. They may not outsource this work, uh, and they train. Reward differentiation is still more of a concept than a reality. So, in terms of how do you incentivize growth, for example, while a lot of companies say that yes, I want to have training programs, I want people to go and attend training programs, very few companies actually have a weightage for people attending training programs and developing themselves. So while we talk about it, but in practice there aren't too many companies which actually reward development and ensure that people have access to these opportunities. So the first point is senior executives accountable for developing their direct reports through performance management process. So 19% not at all. They do not invest at all in developing their people. 44% to some degree, 26 to a considerable degree, and only 10% consistently across the organization. So the biggest input really does not come from training. The biggest input really comes from senior people nurturing their own team members and giving feedback. Feedback is very powerful. When people receive feedback from their managers, which is given in a mature way based on actual insights, then that feedback is very precious. And that really helps in developing talent. So only 44% do that to some extent, and 19% don't do it at all. So which is a big gap, and typically senior executives should help in developing their people. Again, referring to um, a practice which Jack Welch used to mention. He used to say that every manager should work towards making themselves redundant. So by that he meant that they should nurture the team below them so much that very soon the team will be able to take over his job, and he can then move to a different assignment within the company. So basically, every manager should develop the team below them to reach the capability that they themselves are at. And according to statistics, only about 10% do that consistently. Only 10%. So 90% have much opportunity to do this. Next point is managers accountable for developing the direct reports through performance management system. And and there also you have only 49% who are kind of doing this, and only 7% who are doing it very consistently. So so both the statistics are not very healthy, and that gives you a fair idea in terms of see at the both at the senior executive level and the manager level, what kind of investment is going on in people to develop capability and improve performance. So anything that comes to your mind when you see these numbers? Many of you would be people managers. Do you spend time with your teams? Do you nurtured talent, do you give them feedback?
Sir, though I have been a technical manager, but I believe feedback is very effective in getting the team on board. And if we actually have a set agenda, and if you want everyone to come on the same page, feedback serves as a very strong tool. The reason behind that is uh, we even have understood that OJT have been like for trainings. When we talk about trainings, OJT is like one of the most effective tool in getting effective changes within any employee. The reason behind that is people are very serious. Whenever the manager trains the employee, he talks about his experiences and he tries to inculcate his knowledge within the employees and try to bring them at par with his knowledge. Somewhere they feel that they're not only going to benefit from the uh, uh, efficiency, but also they are actually going to set an example in front of the manager, because that will be actually making them important in his eyes. Uh, so overall, what I believe is uh, feedback combined with the training from the manager serves as one of the most effective tool within an organization for any employee.
Yes, I completely agree with you that this is a very powerful tool, and this really encourages people to grow and evolve based on the feedback that they receive from the managers.
And
Any,
even sir,
yeah,
if the external training has been organized for the employees, um, the reinforcement of the training has to be done by the manager. If the reinforcement is not done, I guess the efficiency and effectiveness of that training may not actually show up. That, I mean, it may not be visible. And I guess let's say if you are trained for something, uh, the trainer comes and he will train the train you for the cognitive or the skill for a limited period of time, whereas the same thing you have to continuously do it in front of the manager, which manager definitely he might be an expert, or the supervisor he might be an expert for what you have been trained. And he not only can reinforce, but at the same time he can monitor, guide, and put the right input as to in case if you are lacking somewhere, he can put his input to further your knowledge and enhance what you have learned through the training programs.
yes, absolutely, completely agree, Arvind, that if the training programs are aligned to the feedback that the manager gives, and then the manager takes interest and goes through the learnings from the training program, gives additional input, so that way the uh, team member can really learn quickly, through the training, as well as the feedback that he or she gets from their manager. So that is, no two ways about it. That is definitely a great way to grow and learn for any individual.
Well,
Sir, this is Shushmita.
Yeah,
Generally,
Shishma.
so generally, what happens in my organization is we are being given KRAs for quarterly or 6 monthly performance, and thereafter a constructive and a very objective feedback is given whether we were able to achieve those performance levels or not, so that our KRAs are spelled out initially itself, and so that in the quarter we are already aware that what are the expectations, and thereafter by the way of feedback we come to know where we were lacking and where we have done well.
Okay, that's very good. It's a very systematic way, I think. So that is really good, and it's a best practice to give feedback in such a systematic way, to have clear KRAs defined in the beginning of the year, and then follow up and give feedback. That is exactly what is required for talent management to be effective. Great, Shushmita. I think that's a great point. Anybody else would like to share from their experience? Okay. So moving on, you have leadership and high potential development. This is again, a very critical dimension, and how do you develop leadership and high potential. So again and again, statistics have shown that organizations which focus on leadership development, they tend to be, from the nearest competitor about, at least ahead by a good margin, and they are able to differentiate their products and services in the market due to the sound leadership practices that they have. So some of the observations that we see over here is significant progress has been made in building the leadership capability. So organizations develop leadership talent. Um, I am not sure if you have heard of GE is known as used to be known as uh, uh, a fountainhead of talent. All talent was nurtured, and they have an internal university in near New York on a place called Crottonville, and all top talents were sent over there, and people used to be nurtured and trained to be better leaders. And then you had so many American CEOs who were actually people who were trained in G and eventually left to become CEOs in other companies. So you had Honeywell, Allied Signal, so many other companies where ex-G people were had become CEOs. That's largely because leadership development is taken very seriously in the organization. Then opportunities exist to better align and execute leadership programs. So how you are developing your leadership, how much of it is classroom, how much of it is experiential, how much of it is through on the job training. These are all decisions that companies take. But um, the more thought that goes into the leadership development program, the chances are that it will be more effective. And the people who are nurtured and developed, they are going to be the most critical asset that the organization has. So therefore, but over here, the point that is being made is that there are opportunities to improve this further. Third point is high potential development is a priority for many organizations, but consistent execution falls short. So this is something, again, I have also seen that many people are identified as the high potential or high pot as they're called. But in terms of nurturing this talent, in terms of taking it to the next level, many organizations fall short, and they are not able to give the attention and focus which the high potential employees deserve. So let's look at some of these numbers. Senior leaders are viewed as corporate assets versus business unit or geographic assets. So you have 73% people who agree that yes, senior leaders are asset, big asset to the company, while 27% feel that no, they're not. Uh, Second observation is our CEO and board of directors are involved with leadership development activities, are actively involved with leadership development activities. So 60% are yes, while 40% is no. So the 40% is saying that our CEO and board of directors are not interested in developing leadership, and that is very often it's true because the leadership is too busy focusing on improving the revenue picture rather than developing capability for the long term. So, but thankfully, 60% tend to do that in some way or the other, and so that is very healthy as compared to only 40%, not being interested in this. Third observation is our organization's leaders teach and develop new leaders. So 64% said yes and 36% no. So this is, as we were discussing, and as Arvind also mentioned, that this is a very important point, that your organization leaders are teaching and developing new leaders. Sometimes one definition of leader is not somebody who does something effectively, but somebody who has nurtured other leaders. So a true leader is somebody who has grown other leaders. So that is a mark of a true leader. So executive involvement in leadership development is a must for leadership development to be effective, and so that is what we kind of see in some organizations. Feel free to add in case you have had any experience of leaders developing talent in your organization or playing a very critical role in your organization in developing talent. Okay. Uh, Next is another very important aspect, which is talent analytics. So now, in today's day and time, the uh, data analytics and the analytics dimension of every business is getting stronger. And therefore, talent analytics is also a very critical area, which is evolving very quickly. So, few companies are strategic about what they measure. You would be familiar with Peter Drucker's famous principle that what gets measured gets done. So there are few companies which are strategic about what they measure. For most, the focus is on operations rather than outcomes. So very often we are too busy focusing on what to do, what not to do, and not that much on the outcome of what we are going to be doing. Then select organizations are leading the way in talent analytics. But so only few organizations are leading talent analytics. So let's look at the numbers over here. Percent job openings filled from succession pool is 33%, which is very healthy. That your internal talent is filling up the positions from within. Succession pipeline depth 37%. So the pipeline has a capacity to backfill positions. Internal promotion rate 56%, which is very good. Why is internal promotion good? Any thoughts? Anybody would like to share?
Um, Hi, sir. This is Manisha, and just wanted to add that this is basically retention of the talent of the organization if the promotion is given, so that motivates the employee.
Yes, Manisha, good. So if you develop people from inside and if you develop talent and promote them, then this is very motivating for the organization. Secondly, from a financial standpoint, you tend to save a lot of hiring cost if you're able to develop talent from within and then grow those people. So both from a motivation standpoint as well as a financial standpoint, this is a very good practice. And some organizations particularly make sure that many positions which are highlighted do not get filled from outside, and mandatorily they have to be filled from inside. So one organization I used to work for, only managers and above could be hired from outside. Frontline people and managers and above. In between, team leaders, assistant managers, deputy managers, everybody had to be grown from within the organization. Next is participation rate in developmental activities. So this is something which could be much better. Only 46% participate in developmental activities. So 64% are not doing it, which is not healthy. And ideally, there should be 100% participation in developmental activities in any organization. Next is learning and development. Uh, okay, Ketu, you have a question?
Just one more point in the previous point where you mentioned internal promotion. So one more advantage I saw in my current organization is cultural fitment, and there is no need for onboarding. So usually when any new employee joins, probably it takes at least 6 months to 1 year for him to start performing. But here in this case, it becomes much easier. That period shortens to 3 months or less.
Yes, thank you. So that's a very important point in terms of cultural fitment and how quickly they can become productive. So somebody who is an existing employee can become productive sooner because she's already familiar with the culture of the organization and what is expected from the role, and also the cultural fitment. That is also very important because somebody who's internal is able to quickly move to the next level and has the same culture as rest of the organization. So that's thanks, Suketu. Next is percentage of employees with critical skills. So that's 24%. Ideally, the learning and development team should ensure that a wider set of people have those critical skills, because this is a business risk also to have a small base of people with critical skills. The wider it is, the better. Then participation rate in developmental activities, that is 46%. Learning and development hours per employee, 48%. And then learning and development spend per employee is 49%. So, so these are some matrices in terms of talent analytics. Of course, while the numbers are not too bad, but the numbers are not great either, and can be developed further. So that brings us, to the close of some of the statistics that I wanted to share with you in terms of talent management. So, any thoughts which come to your mind, that kind of sets the context for the success, the successive sessions that we are going to have on various aspects of talent management, be it succession planning or employee engagement or hiring, recruitment. We will look at all of that, and also we will try and look at that from a competency standpoint, in the sense that uh, many organizations may not have a competency framework which they use, but typically most organizations, even if they don't have a competency framework, they generally have a set a mission, vision statement, and a set of values that they would like to inculcate in everybody in the organization. So those can also be used as guidelines for specific kind of hiring, specific kind of talent development, succession planning, etc. So with that, that is kind of all I had to share today. So over to you for inputs, observations, your expectations going forward. All quiet. Any input, any observation, any suggestion?
Hi, Mr. Das. This is Mo here from Bombay.
Sorry, I didn't get the name.
Mo.
Okay, hi.
So for me, this is a very new space. I work in the OD and the training space, and I chose talent management because that's one space that I would like to, explore. So, for this is my initiation, you could say. So I think for a lot of us, this has been an initiation. So maybe we require more time to process what we've heard, and that's why we quiet mostly. That's my view. Of course, I am subject to corrections, but yes, there have been a few ideas which I've always heard, I've always known, but to look at it from a more structured point of view, and to understand how it is working in a process in an organization is definitely something that I've been exposed to today to a certain degree. So probably in the sessions would be more interactive from my side at a later date, because I also require time to process whatever information I've gathered today.
Yes, Mo, sure, I understand that. And also the first sessions are always not the most interactive, because it takes time for everybody to get used to a class. So definitely I understand, but look forward to hearing from you, because OD is a very, they are talent management and OD are very close to each other.
Yes, absolutely.
So therefore would look forward to your insights and inputs.
Wonderful. We'll look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely.
One request from me would be that if you can help us with reference material in terms of books and journals which we can start looking at right from the beginning.
Right.
Because the later the date becomes, time to access these things become a problem.
Right. Definitely, I will do that.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, anyone else?
Sir, this is Yamini.
Hi, Yamini.
Same here, that I am not from the field of HR, nor I have experience of a corporate world, as I am working in very small organization. So there is no systematic hiring, recruiting on T&D function is there. But one thing I want to know from your end, that how can we connect this talent management with the training and development function?
So, Yamini, actually, talent and development is a subset of talent management. Learning and development is a subset. So, if you are able to manage your talent, how you train people is a component of your overall talent management strategy. So, therefore, they are very closely connected. When we talk about training, it is actually managing your talent better. Like we were discussing, I and Arvind, that either you can grow your talent, you can nurture your talent, or you can get your talent from outside. So if you grow your talent, like Suketu mentioned that, and I think somebody else also mentioned that the advantage of growing your own talent is that uh, they are people who take less time to be productive. They are people who are already aligned to the culture. They are people who, they are more cost effective. So those are all the advantages. And learning and development ensures that you are able to develop your talent pipeline. So it's a part of talent management.
Okay, sir. I've heard about the acquisition managers and talent acquisition managers post in the advertisement and all. So what is the basic job profile, or what are the basic responsibilities they have to perform in this role? May I please know that?
Sure. So, getting talent into the organization is a very critical task. And because if you don't have any talent, if you don't have an organization. So therefore, their job is to, they have a X number of people they have to hire. They have to get those people with the relevant skills. Then their job is to screen them for their effectiveness to the role. And then after having screened them effectively, they have to work out the offer, work out the compensation, and then once if they agree to join, onboard them and get them inside the organization and get them aligned to the organization. So by and large, those are some of the things that the hiring team does.
So, sir, is it the new name for selection, recruitment and selection, or there is something different with talent acquisition?
So talent acquisition tends to be more strategic, while recruitment and hiring is basically focused more on the numbers, while talent acquisition is more strategic, like, more senior profiles or profiles, whom you may not hire today, but you keep them warm on the pipeline and you ensure that as and when the need arises, offer them. So it's a more strategic role, while hiring tends to be a more transactional.
Okay,
But
thank
they
you,
are very
sir.
similar.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Sir, this is D. Sahu.
Yes,
Sir,
Mr. Sahu.
many organizations they employ outsourcing for getting better result. So, how do you relate outsourcing to talent management?
Yes, a lot of organizations do that. They don't take people on their roles, they outsource. But at the same time, for organizations to be effective, even the outsourced employee has to be nurtured, has to be trained, has to be incentivized and engaged. So I agree that more and more people, tend to have people on third-party roles, but at the same time, the productivity has to be the same as expected. So therefore, their talent also has to be managed by the organization.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sure, welcome. Okay, so we will close for today. Thank you. Great interacting with you. Look forward to interacting more next time. And and I hope you have a great week ahead. So we will connect same day, same time next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Das.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank